Hello, I'm feeling a little bit better, and since my visit to the Paris Opera House, I'm again completely in Phantom of the Opera mood. Um, Let me tell you a little bit about my fandom. Um, it started in the pre-PIM era, when I still had a full-time job, and I went to my job with the bus. And in the bus, I have to look it up. There was a large poster announcing Phantom of the Opera. Well, and I come from a household where they did not visit theater or cinema or just simple. But I was attracted to it. I don't know why. Anyway, when I got to know Pim, and Pim asked me, "What would you like to do?" It was quite in the beginning still, but Pim came from a household which was into classical music, and Pim played cello, and anyway, it was a kind of different background. So I wondered what would it be, and I said, let's go. So I went to the Phantom of the Opera, and the Phantom of the Opera was there and then my first musical show, whatever, and it made a lasting impression. And when we turned at Pim's apartment, we were living separately. I was living near my parents, and Pim was already on his own. I discussed it, and I immediately called. Then it was calling. Internet was not really a thing. And ordered more tickets. I ended up going to the Phantom in the Netherlands about 11 times. I visited Phantom in America touring and in New York, several times in England, several times in Belgium, including recently last year, the non-original or the non-replica, I believe they call that. Several times in Germany, in several cities in Germany, because sometimes Germany is quite large, not American large, but large. So sometimes it's in the begin and a little bit higher. So it moves cities a little bit. And let's see. Yes, I think those are the countries I visited. But anyway, as I said, I started out in 1994 being a fan. And you might not be able to imagine it, but internet was just kind of beginning. I was kind of early with that. And you did not have that much information on it, or even web shops or something like that. And there were some paper magazines around, which in England, I can't really remember the name of it, but probably familiar with long-time fans, which was one with Christine and Bethany. But at the moment I wanted to subscribe. They stopped doing the paper one, and yes, moving to sit more comfortable. The paper one, and only did an online version. Then you had German Chandelier. I speak German, so I could understand that. And you had the international fanzine, p.o.t.o magazine, Phantom of the Opera magazine, run by Carrie Hernandez. And I also subscribed on that one, because she was used to sending it worldwide. And I looked around, but there was not really a Dutch-Belgian fan club. So I started my own Dutch-Belgian fan club called Phantom Friends. And I made my own magazine. Very, very simple, with copies. I wrote it on my desktop, and then printed it, and then copied it several times. And it was very difficult, because you have to do a double-sided copy and blah. Anyway, and the fan club was not large, because, as I said, the internet was just beginning. So you could not reach out to the fans. There were message boards, and there were news groups, which was a little bit difficult, because it depended on your provider if they provided certain news groups. So I never really got the hang of that. So I learned a little bit on the international forums. Let's see. Okay, when I contacted Carrie Hernandez and she noticed I had my own magazine. She asked me if I was interested in writing something for the magazine. So I started out writing for Phantom of the Opera magazine. And we enjoyed working together so good that I kind of became a little bit the European side of it. Um, and I became assistant editor of Photo magazine. Also, Photo magazine was a semi-professional magazine. That means they, maybe also because they were based in America and they could get sued. So you really had to tape your interviews and verbally write down what they said. So you could not misquote. The photos that were used were official material. So I learned that way to learn to write and work in a semi-professional way. Of course, I could then use, with permission of the person that gave permission to put it in p.o.t.o magazine, also translate it in the Dutch magazine. And I also sent it to the Chandelier, so the German Chandelier. I wrote it in German. Would not be perfect because it's a third language. About, I think, best is Dutch, of course, then English, and then German. Anyway, so I ended up being the assistant editor of p.o.t.o magazine, writing for p.o.t.o magazine, still running kind of my own Phantom of the Opera fan club with magazine, and writing on occasion then in the German style for the Chandelier. When I wanted to buy merchandise, that is a funny one. There was a shop in Toronto in Canada, who ran shop with all kinds of Phantom of the Opera stuff. You had to send them a stamped envelope with return postage, a certain amount, which called the international reply coupon or something back then. And then they would send you a paper catalog, and from which you could order them by filling a form and providing credit card info. And that is the way I got my first merchandise. Then later eBay came a little bit to the internet, so that was a little bit better. Nowadays it's totally different, of course. Fans on forums, etc. Exchanged some stuff, which is now, of course, openly available on YouTube, etc. It was back then really kind of hard being a fan. Well, and when the Phantom of the Opera ended in Netherlands, the interest went low. So I went on to be musical friends for some short period, but my heart was not in it. I was a Phantom girl. So let's see, that's the part. Okay, and while writing for p.o.t.o magazine, I had to write for, because when they ended, they made a real compendium for, with every information, you a kind of encyclopedia, whatever. And anyway, and I was writing for that an analysis of the 1943 film. And I wanted to quote a little bit from my book, and as I said, officially I contacted the writer of the book, and I'm a little bit badly concentrated, but I will put in the information so she gets the credit. And it turned out she liked, for example, the story of Cyrano, and at that moment here in the Netherlands there was a musical Cyrano. It's what kind of original. So I sent her some Cyrano stuff, and she had some American Phantom of the Opera stuff. And when I came across the 1943 movie stuff, I also sent it to. So our bondage became a little bit better. And then she said to me, "Why don't you write for the American market?" I said, it's only my second language and I'm not used to writing stories, although I did write stories when I was a teenager. Who doesn't? Anyway, and she says, I think you could do it. And she sent me an opening for Chicken Soup of the Soul series. And I had never heard of it being here in the Netherlands. So I went to the library, and there they had one book. So I analyzed what they would want, and I ended up writing and being published and paid. Which was very weird, because when they transfer it, I don't know, it was very difficult to get the dollars on my bank account. And then when the bank transferred them, I lost a lot of, because of the transference course. Anyway, I ended up writing several stories for them, and was even published in one of their best of, and 3 of the books my story was just a little part in ended up in the New York Times bestseller list. So kind of Phantom kind of had a very nice impact on my life. Because of that, I developed further and went into writing, and also I went into public relations for a volunteer job I did. And when I contacted newspaper, if they had some spaces left for free for a good purpose, they said, if you write nice analytical articles, that will be fine also, and we can then publish it. So I went to writing for a newspaper, local newspaper, and then a new newspaper arrived here, and they asked for local correspondence. So I thought, nothing loose, let's try. So I showed a little bit of my work, and I was hired, and for several years I did, but it was very difficult because we had a local newspaper, which was the name, and then a new intruder. So we did not care to pass releases or too late or something like that. But I really enjoyed it because in the beginning my head editor and I almost wrote the newspaper ourselves. And yes, if you're wondering how does that autism work on that, well, masking. I just figured out what would people think or expect from a newspaper journalist, and I kind of showed that. Because from nature I was very shy, of course, not really, but just analyze what would people expect from a newspaper journalist, and show that. Anyway, then came the long period of caretaking, and that is kind of it. What you see there mostly on YouTube is after or during that period of caretaking. And what I can say is that I'm a very broad fan. When I go to the show, I just enjoy the show. I don't analyze the actors on how they work. Maybe I'm too tired for that to also have to focus on that. Also, I did not even do that when I was more functional. So I just go in and enjoy the show. I like the movies, all kind of variation, not only on Drew Lloyd Webber. And yes, I also got across, I recently saw a podcast of Phantom on a Budget. And she talked about the beginning of fandom, and I recognized a lot, but I was not really in it. I was a little bit watching from the sidelines the movie which was coming into development, first threatening to use Antonio Banderas. I had, well, okay, if it's him, but we have a movie, okay. And liking all versions and the movie coming up brings me to Rhapsody on Nauru. That was also a book filled with fan fiction, paper one, and drawings from artists, which was produced by Carrie Hernandez on a photo magazine Rhapsody. And only the rumors were beginning of the movie, and I already wrote a fan fiction about there being a movie, blah 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 blah, etc. And another piece my husband published drawing fitting to one of those stories. So that is a little bit my story of how of a fan I am. Through the years, it went up and down, my interests, but it still always remained. And lately I'm still collecting because the world grows larger and there is a lot of more of fan fiction available because the publishing developed, and a lot of fans can easily publish e-books. So yeah, I'm still collecting because there are still coming new more merchandise. And oh wait, I do not have beginning to start having all of it. I just see what comes across for a reasonable price, mostly second hand. But I don't mind that because it's more cheaper that way, and it's a perfect solution for the fan who is not fan probably anymore or has it double, and for me because I want to have it. So this is a little bit about me being a fan for about 32 years. Ooh, I'm that old already, yes. Okay. And what it brought to my life. So it kind of brought writing to my life, and of which I'm very happy. It went slowly, step by step, but it all is related to Phantom of the Opera. And I'm very grateful for that. And I really enjoy all kinds of incarnations of Phantom of the Opera. And if you enjoyed it, please like or subscribe or react. And if you have any questions, you can put them down below. And if they are not too impertinent, I will answer them. And if I can remember, of course. But, oh, okay. And thank you for watching this video. Bye.